What if the runt shows up?
We ain't gotta worry about the Wolverine.
Yeah, I heard his arm falls off way too easy.
You ever hear of healing factor, bub? 'Cause I got a whole lot better.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh overview. Today, let's take a look at the Medicom MAFEX Marvel X-Men Wolverine Brown comic version. And I swear, DHL has a Stargate or something. I paid for this at Ami sometime over the weekend, and Tuesday it shows up. I get packages from Japan through DHL faster than Amazon Prime. That just means I get that sweet, sweet import plastic faster. Looking at the package, this is what we're used to with MAFEX. It has the kind of comic corner up here, although for a line that's based on the Jim Lee type look, that's kind of an oddball picture to use. But you see most of the figure. What's going on here? I don't think there's anything hidden back there besides his feet. This is kind of jarring though, the brown circles all over. In fact, that's the whole package. And it looks like it's most of the background inside the package instead of some kind of drawing or something. It's odd. On the side, pretty promotional shot of Wolverine leaping away. On the back, more promotional images, some of the accessories. Snicked! Medicom toy, Project 16. Wait a second. What do you want from me? On the other side, another promotional shot of Wolverine, X-Men up on top. Same thing, different order on bottom. Bunch of legalese. Warning, choking hazard. Don't put them in your mouth. Unpiratable Jim in the hologram sticker. But let's get this open. See if this beats the yellow version, even though this does have some yellow. You know what I mean, the yellow and blue, that other one they did. And how many times now have I said the packaging is what we're used to with fill in blank? So much that I know I'm gonna cut this tape and I'm gonna open this flap, I'm gonna pull this tray, and it's gonna be a pain in the ass because the stand is taped to the bottom. The stickiness of the tape is always sticking to something. Look at the inside of that, it's almost hypnotic. You will love this Wolverine. You will. Come here, stand. I used to be pretty down on these, but now that I tighten up the joints and everything, the screws hold, they're not bad. They're just not flight stands. They're more help you stand stands. Well, that's the name of the object, isn't it? A stand. Out of the package, fairly loose. Does not hold a lot of weight. You do a little tightening, much better. But again, fairly standard. Good night. And you've heard me say this many times before about MAFEX. It's like a comic book drawing jumped off the page into 3D, into plastic action figure form. And this just cuts a mean Wolverine silhouette. Which is not surprising because we've already laid hands upon this Wolverine and there is some shared parts. Well, there's a lot of shared parts. I believe the torso is the same sculpt. It's just been modified to not have the tiger stripes because those are sculpted in over here. Those don't exist over here. Looks like the same arms up to the shoulder. And the difference there, besides removing the hole in the back for the shoulder pad, they soften the musculature. I'm guessing because it's costume coming out and over, it just doesn't have the same depth to the sculpt. Same belt, same crotch cover, same legs, same feet, same boots, but they extended the points up on the side. I think it's the same head sculpt, but they painted it slightly different. The eyes are wider, not just whiter, but wider, and the paint's cleaner. Saying that, there's only some straight lines where the colors meet, you know? There's the yellow plastic, brown. Right here is essentially, well, on the shoulders too, and I guess on the forearms where there's painted edges. Even up here on the head, much cleaner between the yellowish color and the black. But I am really truly okay with the reuse here because it's supposed to be the same dude, and that first Wolverine captured the essence so well that they would have been silly to not reuse those parts. Like I said, the paint lines for the most part are clean. There may be a little bit of smudge here, a little bit on this line. Oh, well, bringing the old one in again, they did change the skin tone a little bit. It seems a bit tanner, slightly more realistic, and that especially helps at the face. For some reason, it's easier to see the details. Also, the yellow on the new one is slightly darker. So if you wanted to swap heads, it'd work, but you'd see a difference. There is a darker yellow shading in parts. It's very subtle and maybe harder to see. There you go. Maybe that's easier. But what catches my eye, besides it being, you know, a kick-ass Wolverine, is the brown. It's just so smooth. There's a sheen to it, but it doesn't look plasticky. Chocolatey, I guess you could say. There's also shading there. It's a bit more apparent than on the yellow, but I like that. There's almost a contrast. Everything just works so well together because we've been looking at this design for how many decades now. Then, of course, there's black to the pointy part sticking up off the boots, and the stripe running down the middle, down to the toe. The sole of the boot going all the way around. And then on the mask, which is a bit too exaggerated for my tastes. I prefer my head wings to be a little smaller. Saying that, this style definitely has its place, and it looks so good, I don't even mind. I went to do this, and no. I kind of like exactly where it is. Now, if you remember back to the previous Wolverine, it did have a looseness to the arm popping off the shoulder. Here, I haven't had that problem. It doesn't seem to want to come off. So even though it reuses, well, okay, never mind. This is a new shoulder, so maybe they did their modification there. Shorten it up a bit so this would connect all the way onto the pin, or vice versa. I can't remember how that actually works. I'm sure if you tug-award it, you could pull it off, because I did it with Venom and it was tough to put back on. I'm not putting full strength behind it because it's working. Also, above the left leg, maybe the way it was packed, I do have some warp to the shorts. I'll have to heat that up, bring it out or something. Also, the belt, I had forgotten that it's actually attached in the back, so it likes to ride up. Push it back down. Or maybe you like a high riding belt. Give you more shorts, less torso, makes them look a little bit more stubby. Personal preference, I like the belt to be a little bit lower. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint with a kick in it at the top, ball joint down at the bottom. And where it's set now, it's meant to look up more than down. You can turn that around to where it faces forward if you want him looking down more. Most of the time I leave mine here. So he can do this. Even with it to the back, you can still get him to look there. So that's why I leave it in that position. Oh, all that means so much tilt side to side. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes back, goes forward, goes up, goes down. Outside of that is a ball that you can rotate all the way around. Hinge at the shoulder comes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up to, way past 90. Swivel hinge swivel at the wrist. There's turn. Well, that's actually turning on the outside. There's also hinge up and down. You can turn it to the side. That way it goes in and out. Dumbbell joint at the mid torso, I believe. Ball joint down at the bottom. All together, you can get quite a bit of crunch. But if you go all the way forward, the bottom of the lower torso likes to snag on top of where the belt meets the trunks. You'll get some resistance. You gotta push it in and then push back. Arc back. Tilt. And tilt. Drop down at the hip. That brings it forward. Back. Out. Ooh. Rotation within that assembly. Double knee. Oh, well, the back of the leg kind of runs into it. He can't quite kick his own ass, but it's damn close. There may be a swivel at the top of the boot, or it's a separate piece glued to the peg right there. Just in case, they put a swivel at the top of the ankle if you want some turning down there. Hinge back, hinge forward, forward facing pin for rocker, toe joint that goes all the way up. For accessories, there's 2 fists, there's 2 relaxed hands, and then it's Wolverine. Of course, there's 2 fists with claws sticking out of them. And I love that they've been adding these sprues to the extra hands. It keeps the holes the correct size to go onto the hand without too tight, too loose, whichever. Although the right fist that came on it in the package, slightly loose. And then the clawed hands are super tight, but that's okay. Now that I have these on here, they're never coming off because Wolverine. And I love these claws so much more than the tiger stripe. Again, this style has its place, very straight, very long, but I'm a fan of these curved claws. They're also shorter. On top of that, they are so symmetrical. The spacing between each claw, I don't have to do any heating, no fixing. They're out of the package just like that. I love them. And then for head options, there is the neutral masked head. Just pops right off and you can put on the kind of teeth showing, well, I can't tell if that's happy or angry. It's definitely a different expression. If I didn't know any better, I would think this is kind of playful. There's some messiness to the paint line here. And, well, I guess it does kind of ride up on the yellow there, too. It's definitely noticeable from a lot of angles. Then there's this downed cowl that hangs around the neck. It doesn't seem to want to fit really well. It kind of pops. Well, okay, never mind. I got it to where it lays down all the way. And with that, it comes with the unmasked head. And you guys know me, I'm not really a big fan of open mouth screaming heads. I mean, this is nice for what it is, and I kind of like the white shining out from there with the pink tongue and the blue shading to the hair, but it's not quite as nice as the prototype. Now that I'm looking at that, the skin tone changed from there to production piece 2. Not bad, but man, it's hard to not use the head that came on it in the package because That is so good. Maybe this one's tracking or something, or being a smartass to the rest of the team. Size-wise, Wolverine stands at about 5 3/4 to the top of the head and about 6 1/16 to the top of the horn. But this is where it works with the MAFEX, Gambit, Psylocke, and Cyclops. Wolverine is supposed to be short and stubby. I guess the chest could be wider. Maybe I think of him as being a bit more bulky. This works. At least the males. For some reason, the Psylocke head seems small to me. I guess we'll get a better idea when Jean comes out, if that's going to be the standard proportions for a female MAFEX figure. At least when it comes to the X-Men. If you're getting this to go with your Marvel Legends X-Men, this works just as well, if not better. Body-wise, proportions, this seems to be a closer fit. It's slightly taller, but quite a bit bulkier than the Marvel Legends Brown Costume version, and there's the difference in the browns. It looks plasticky. I could hit it with some dull coat, that's not a problem. This is almost silky smooth. There's a depth to it. Don't get me wrong, I still love this, especially for 20 bucks, but oh, this is my shelf Wolverine. Okay, coming back after the review, after pictures, after some extreme posing, I wanted to warn you that if you get really heavy crunchy with the torso, you're gonna scratch the paint right here. This happened when I turned and then crunched and went way super far. And when I brought it back up straight, boom, there it was. Thankfully, it's kind of in the position to where I put him standing straight up. It's not noticeable. It's gonna be when I arc back really far. There's a little on the back too. Just be a little bit careful. So at the end of the day, you probably get sick of hearing it, but it's comic art in my hand. Medicom does have its problems every now and then, but it is leaps and bounds better than they used to be. Hell, even the first Wolverine, like I mentioned, had that arm problem that where if you tug too hard or pose too heavy, it would pop off. They took that into consideration this time around, fixed the problem, and honestly, besides the shorts being kind of warped on the left side, I don't say this very often, but this is damn near perfect. The overall look, the proportions, the posability, the colors, and I'm saying that as someone who has about 250 Wolverines. I know it's easy to say, this is the brand new one, of course it's gonna be my favorite. Standing this up against all the previous Wolverines, I can't help it. But I may be biased a little bit too, because the brown costume is one of my favorites. I mean, if they want to give us astonishing, I'm not going to turn it down. When it comes down to it, the brown and the yellow and the red, it just works so well. It's ingrained right here. And this is taking this picture and pulling it out, wrapping it in plastic form, giving me something to play with. It's amazing. Well, I said near perfect. There's a paint line here, and I'm not in love with the unmasked head. But here, mwah. That says it all. So if you enjoyed this overview, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. Wherever you may be watching this, always catch you on the Fwoosh. There's a piece of pinup art or a poster or something that is this exactly. And I mean this as in me looking in the screen of the camera right now where I can't see all the detail. Just the blackness of this, the yellow, and then the skin parts, and then of course the eyes poking out of there. Those look so good.